everybody. It is time to finish my video series on Ezekiel Emanuel's article where he said why I hope to die at 75. This is part 3. I want to sum it up pretty quickly because I think you'll get the idea. On the last third of the article, he talks about how he doesn't want to be a burden to his children and why he does not want his children to have the last memories of him that would be traumatic and really sad. He wants to be remembered as an independent, and he doesn't want to put a burden on their lives. And he does say losing a parent is a huge loss, and nobody wants to confront mortality, and that children definitely never want to imagine their parents deceased, and I get that, but he does not want them to remember him in his fragile state. And like I said in the other video, I disagree with that, because when I look back at my grandmother, I don't think of her that way. I think of her whole life and how she lived and how she inspired me and just the great memories I have with her. So that part I disagree on. And let me continue. So at 75, that is all I want to live, age 75. But I'm not going to engage in euthanasia or suicide. And he explains that, what he will do instead. I won't actively end my life, but I won't try to prolong it either. Today, when the doctor recommends a test or treatment, especially one that will extend our lives, it becomes incumbent upon us to give a good reason why we don't want it. So this is where now he's saying he's going to start declining medical tests, medical procedures. And to me, I wrote a little note to myself, that's questionable. I won't, when a doctor recommends a test or treatment that will extend our lives, I'm a little bit on the fence about that one, because there are a lot of second opinions. Not all treatments actually extend your lives. I'm not going to go into any examples or details because there's more to come in the rest of the article. But to me, that's an opinion. When you say this is going to extend your life, some things do. Stopping profuse bleeding, yes, that's going to extend your life. And if you're in the midst of a heart attack, things like that are going to extend your life. But there are a lot of things I think are questionable that really they're more oppressive to your life. And I'm sure you can come up with some examples of your own. He says also, there was a quote there. If it will not prolong your life, he's not going to partake in it. So I will stop getting any regular preventive tests or screenings or interventions. And I think, why not? Because a lot of screenings, they've disproven the fact that if you look at the statistics over time, participating in screenings, that doesn't really change the outcome of your quality of life or your lifespan. So my question here, my little note on the margin, is why not do that earlier? Why not skip a lot of these screenings even before the age of 75? How about, there's a whole list of them, dump it all, and don't take that time out of your life doing all these tests and screenings, even in your 60s and 50s. So now that's my opinion. And that's why I'm here making these videos, is to give you another side to the story. So he's not going to do a colonoscopy, no cancer screenings. He said age 65 will be his last colonoscopy. So I don't know how many he's had, but he said that's the end point for him. Prostate cancer testing, he skips it. In fact, his doctor did a PSA test without his consent almost. He says here, my doctor ordered the test for himself, even after the author, Ezekiel Emanuel, said, I don't want to do a PSA test. The doctor did it anyway. He says, I'm going to refuse treatment. So the doctor called him up and he hung up. He says, I don't want to hear the results. He ordered the test for himself. I told him it not for me. And he also said after age 75, if I develop cancer, I will refuse treatment. And he is not going to do a cardiac stress test. He's not going to have a pacemaker, no defibrillator, no heart valve replacement. And if he has emphysema or a similar disease, he said he would just take the very minimum medication that would ameliorate the discomfort caused by the feeling of suffocation. But he said he will refuse to be hauled off. So he's going to stop a lot of these things. Now, some of these things I already mentioned have been proven not to be effective. And you can look it up. You can look up what the statistics on stents and whatnot, and especially cancer treatment. You can look that up for yourself about those types of treatments. Would I say the jury is out? No, I think everyone's in their own special camp where they say you got to have this cancer treatment. You must. And then there's another camp that says it's your choice, and the statistics are pretty bad. 3% is not really that impressive of a statistic. What about the simple stuff? Flu shots are out. He's not going to have any more flu shots after age 75. Now, if he's getting one every year, I'm going to give you my opinion here. How much aluminum is that? How much mercury is building up in this guy's brain and body? Because now at age 75, he's going to skip it. There's a lot of people in this population who don't touch flu shots, won't go there. So he's going to quit at age 75. If there's a flu pandemic, he says a younger person deserves the chance to live. I'm paraphrasing here because I'm trying to rush through the article and finish this. And he says antibiotics are cheap, so he's okay with that. And taking medication that's simple enough. No, he's not going to have the resuscitation order. It's going to be do not resuscitate, no ventilators, no dialysis, no surgery. Only if it's palliative care at age 75, and beyond. He mentions Japan has the third highest life expectancy behind Monaco and Macau. United States life expectancy is pretty disappointing. Where is it? We're number 42, and 79 and a half years is the average life expectancy. So he says, should we try to compete with Japan? He says no. It's not really of importance to him. There are some age groups that do a little bit worse, and he says we should focus on them. And then he says we really need to focus on children's health, because that makes sense. How your early life pans out is going to really affect long term. And I agree with that, but I don't agree with a lot of the things that we do to children. And so that's where he and I are going to differ, because I think a lot of the things the pediatricians do, not warranted. And I think the less time you're in the pediatrician's office is the better. So I wrote in the margin here, he says instead we should look much more carefully at children's health measures where the U.S. lags behind. And I wrote, you wrecked it. So this is my opinion, but there's a lot of things we do with children are not done in other countries. And, vaccination is one. Just the whole, let's give every kid a juice box. That's not my favorite thing. Just all these kids' foods that are in the grocery store shelves, they're garbage, and they're setting kids up for the addiction to refined grains and sugars. And remember, if you see a snack bar at the school basketball games, that's not something that makes me happy. So let's rethink actually how we're treating children. And no gym class anymore, hardly any recess. Yet we've done a lot of things to screw up children. Just the whole educational system does not even acknowledge normal brain development of a child. We totally ignore what really works for children, and that would be just having fun and having an imagination and playing all day. That is where we should be doing it. And keeping kids home more often. So here you go. That's the second side of the story here. Another thing is he mentions that Alzheimer's, there needs to be more research in Alzheimer's. And why we become disabled in older age. And I'm going to say there's a lot of different theories on Alzheimer's. They're all over the place. In fact, a lot of them are questionable. I was reading a book called The Myth of Alzheimer's. I haven't finished it yet, but it's quite telling at how we know nothing about Alzheimer's, and I think we make it worse with the current idea. And the one theory is the amyloid plaques when they show up in your MRIs. Now there's one camp that says that's killing you. That tells us you have Alzheimer's. And there's another camp that says, no, that's healing you, and not to freak out when you see that on your test. So there you go. There's no agreement. And there probably won't be any agreement. He says at age 75, he doesn't believe in rationing health care. He doesn't put people down who want to continue living past 75 and who want to continue to live vibrantly. He's not going to be criticizing anybody. Nobody's unethical or wrong. He's just saying this is where I am at right now. Then he goes into a couple of paragraphs about the spiritual realm and believing in God and having just a belief in your why you're here, the importance of helping your fellow man, things like that. So whether we are agnostics or atheists or just don't think about whether there is a God, and why should she all right, I'm totally messed up here. Most of us found a way to live our lives comfortably without acknowledging, much less answering those big questions, the big questions about God, heaven, and hell. And we suppress our spiritual feelings about why we're here on earth and why do we exist. So he says, I don't have the answers. But he says, age 75, that's the clear point for me. In fact, he mentions, and this is really good, he says, the things we did in our 20s, when we look back and say, we were foolish, we did some ridiculous things, and at age 75 we say, we wasted a lot of time. And I think that's important. What are we telling our 20-year-olds right now? What can we impart to them? What kind of wisdom? And he mentioned our consumption. Do we overconsume things in life? Materialistic things and just all the goals and aspirations we strive for. It's a little bit much, because when you reach the age of 75, hopefully you're pretty happy in your state in life, and simple things are enjoyable, and you're no longer crazy with the materialistic things. He says, as most of us learned in college during late night bull sessions, these questions foster deep anxiety and discomfort about, did I live my life the way I meant to live it? So he says, don't stress it. For me, 18 more years in which to wade through these questions is preferable to years of trying to hang on to every additional day and forget the psychic pain they bring up while enduring the physical pain of an elongated dying process. So he still is focusing on, making your best years, but not overthinking it. So 75 years is all I want to live. I want to celebrate my life while I'm still in my prime. My daughters and dear friends will continue to try to convince me that I'm wrong and can live a valuable life much longer, and I retain the right to change my mind and offer a vigorous and reasoned defense of living as long as possible. That, after all, would mean still being creative after 75. So what is his main theme here? Not doing a whole lot of medical care at age 75. I think there's a lot of, I agree with that, but I agree it should be starting sooner. I think we should rethink our whole medical, just all the medical definitions. What is disease? Because, from my point of view, there really isn't a disease, because everything your body does is correct for the situation. Why should we get negative and obsessive compulsive and freak out with all these disease names? They don't help you. Just fix your nervous system. And I shouldn't say fix. That's the old me coming out. Let's enhance the nervous system. Everything it does is correct for the situation. Our situations may be overblown. Maybe we need to change our lifestyle, look back at how we live day in and day out, get some things off our plate, because they're not, like, if you go to age 75 and say, I shouldn't have had all that stuff on my plate, what a waste of time. That is what everybody should do in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Start thinking about that plate. Is it really going to matter 30 years from now? Is all your relationship distress going to matter 30 years from now? Fix it. Fix it now. Take something off of all of your plates. So before I get into a big hole here, just remember, the nervous system is there for you 24 hours a day. Take care of it. Don't exhaust it. That's the simple thing. Don't exhaust it. And don't teach it the patterns that you don't like, that you eventually will not like. Because yes, your nervous system tolerates a lot of abuse and stress. Don't wait until it's waving the white flag and you're out of energy. You've got to follow the brain first protocol. Why not? It's very simple. Move the brain, feed the brain, talk to the brain. That's the end of today's video. I'm going to try to tackle the rebuttal from somebody else. And this is Miguel Faria Jr. He published in Surgical Neurological International in 2015. Let's check it out on the next video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and thank you.